All right, guys, you're going to want to stay and you're going to want to see this. We are finally seeing, I'd say as of today, the true culmination of Donald Trump's mental decline. This guy is seriously not well. And it's kind of frustrating that nobody's talking about it, especially considering some of the videos I'm about to show you. If Biden did this, ever, even came close to doing stuff like this, the media would have a firestorm. The Fox News headquarters, smoke would be coming out of the top. And people would say, what's going on in there? I'd say, oh, it's fine. Their servers are just letting off some steam. They were overheating a bit because they've run 24/7 nonstop news coverage on Joe Biden's mental decline. But of course, what I'm about to show you, some of these clips, absolutely insane, and not enough people are talking about it. Really quickly, my name is Chris Mowrey. I'm filling in for Adam Mockler on the Adam Mockler channel. If you enjoy this type of content, the link to my YouTube channel will be in the description down below. It'd mean a lot if you checked it out and hit subscribe. You guys are the best. And on this channel, we're trying to do something to punch back against MAGA media, this like Republican media machine, a lot of what lost us the 2024 election. And on this channel, we're trying to do it by uplifting Gen Z voices, pushing back against all the lies, moving into 2026, 2028, and beyond. And if you want to be a part of this growing community, it would mean so much if you would go right down there and hit subscribe. This channel is growing so rapidly, and it's because of you guys. We love each and every one of you. All right, let's get into this. Before I play these two clips from this Newsmax interview that are just insane, let's take a look at this first one from just yesterday, where Donald Trump fires the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics after he says the numbers are rigged against him after the horrible jobs report. And somebody asked him about this, and he says this.
You fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think her numbers were wrong, just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala, I guess Biden/Kamala, and she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers are
$800,000 or $900,000 reduction. That's deeply concerning because I believe he's confusing dollars with jobs. He's trying to discuss job revisions, like the amount of jobs added and if they're revised down. And instead he says dollars. Again, this is a moment truly. If Joe Biden did this exact thing, it would be nonstop coverage from Fox and News Nation and Newsmax and everyone, right? But Donald Trump does it, and very few people have seen this clip. I saw a lot of clips from yesterday. I missed this one. And it's like, okay, that's deeply troubling. We go to the next one from also went a little under the radar. This is from just 2 weeks ago. And truly, this clip is deeply concerning because when you talk about, I'm not a doctor, but when you talk about the early signs of something like dementia, for example, or someone who's really cognitively declining, one of the things you see is trouble with numbers, which you just saw in one clip and you're going to see in another clip. That's deeply concerning. But the other thing you see is somebody who's telling stories that they seem very, they're lying about, but they believe to be very true. And this is an example of that. And it's really scary how confident Donald Trump is in this story when it's an outright fabrication. It cannot be true. Take a listen.
One of the great professors, 51 years, whatever. He was the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, 3 degrees in nuclear, chemical, and math. That's a smart man. Kaczynski was one of his students. Do you know who Kaczynski was? There's very little difference between a madman and a genius. But Kaczynski, I said, what kind of a student was he, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump? He said, what kind of a student? And then he said, seriously good. He said he'd go around correcting everybody, but it didn't work out too well for him.
So on Tuesday, the president told a very detailed story about his uncle, noted scientist John Trump, and Theodore Kaczynski, the late Unabomber.
Now I want to pause before this reporter talks to Caroline Levitt. Donald Trump is saying his uncle, who taught at MIT and apparently had a degree in, I think he said nuclear and math and science, some weird combination of words that doesn't really make sense. And he said he taught the late Unabomber, and the Unabomber was a genius. Well, there's two already really problematic statements. Number one, Donald Trump's uncle did teach at MIT, but he never had a degree in like nuclear science or mathematics. He had a degree in, I think, physics or something like that. And number two, the Unabomber never attended MIT. The Unabomber attended Harvard. Okay, so those two things alone are already really concerning and make the story already pretty much impossible. But listen to this.
Said that Dr. Trump taught Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was not identified as the Unabomber until 1996, 11 years after John Trump passed away. It would have been impossible for John Trump to have ever discussed the Unabomber with the president. So what was he talking about? And I have one follow-up.
Andrew, with so many issues going on in the world, I'm a little bit surprised you would ask such a question, although I'm not. Sometimes coming from you, I will say.
I don't want to hear the rest of what she's going to say, because the rest of what she's going to say is basically Donald Trump's uncle was the smartest guy ever. Next question. And again, if Joe Biden told such a frivolous story, it would be nonstop news. That has to be proof in real time that Donald Trump is just losing it. I mean, his uncle didn't have those degrees. The Unabomber didn't go to MIT, and the Unabomber wasn't identified until 11 years after Donald Trump's uncle passed away. And Donald Trump is saying it with such, does he know he's lying? That's the thing. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. He lies every time he takes a goddamn breath. Sorry. Now I get ramped up because this is frustrating. You know, he lies so often. The question is, what does he think is a lie and what's not? Let's go back to the original part of this video, and again, where the real mental decline has shown. Let's take a look.
Answer this. I didn't realize she'd be in the room, but she's on my list. Caroline Levitt.
She's become a star. It's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun. Is she in the room?
She's in the room.
She's a star, and she's great. She's a great person, actually, but she's, I don't think anybody has ever had a better press secretary than Caroline. She's been amazing.
Okay, again, concerning the way we're pronouncing words and saying things that don't really make sense. Also gross, you know? On top of all of this, Donald Trump just consistently lying and confusing his very clear long-term close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, somebody who is close to Jeffrey Epstein would never say something like this about a mid-20-year-old press secretary of his. Yeah, you would never, you know, of course, never discuss somebody in this way. What a creepy, weird video. And lastly, listen to this one. We've talked about the culmination of a lot of these things and the early signs of some of this cognitive decline. You're telling stories that are just outright false with such confidence. You're confusing numbers with, you know, you're just confusing math and numbers generally. He said, oh, they revised Kamala Harris $900 million, $900,000. Like, not dollars, jobs. We're talking in a very creepy, weird way about young women and just not really making sense. And then you have this.
And I think we're going to be very successful fairly soon. We'll have drug prices coming down by 500, 600, 800, even 1,200%.
If I'm sorry, it's just kind of stunning. If drug prices drop 100%, the drug prices, they're free. Right. There's no such thing as dropping 500 or 800 or 1,200%. That actually, in that case, when you're buying medication, the people selling it to you would owe you money. So what are we talking about here? And again, it is stunning that some of these clips just in the last 24 hours, some of them a little older, none of them get any press, it feels like. And obviously, we're in a very intense news cycle these days, and there's a lot of very intense, important things happening. I understand. But it can be very infuriating that, again, if Joe Biden said this exact thing, we're going to bring drug prices down 500, 800, 1,200%, it would be a firestorm. And you know it, too. You'd walk into, like, your friend's house or your parents' house or your daughter's house, whoever, and see Fox News playing, and they would never let it go. It'd be nonstop. Insanity. Insanity. Let me know what you think of all this down below. Once again, if you haven't subscribed already, it would mean so much if you did so. On this channel, trying to uplift Gen Z voices, bring you all the news as rapidly as possible, and give you some insight like we did today. So hit subscribe down below if you haven't already. Once again, my name is Chris Mowrey, filling in for Adam Mockler on the Adam Mockler channel. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you in the next video.